Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. This earnings season has almost come to an end, at least for big tech. So it has been all kinds of IV crush. So what is IV crush? So remember the first big tech that announced earning this season was Netflix. So it went up for like some 14% after the earnings call, very dramatically. And so, usually during these earnings seasons, trader would price in large move for these stocks, just like they naturally, after a big beat from Netflix, they will assume that for the rest of the technology stocks would also have very large swing, whichever direction that might be, to take place after the earnings call. And every time, if you're trading Nvidia on earnings, they're always pricing in like 10% move on the stock after the earnings release. And so those options are priced almost perfectly. Like if you're buying an out of money option, you can be paying up to like $500 on one Nvidia option, call or put, whatever that is. And then the stock ends up moving 2%, right? That's IV crush, right? That's market maker taking your money from you because you buy the option pricing in for a large move, but it opens moving up for 2%. So at that moment, your option contract would just become worthless, right? So Apple, Intel, obviously, I think Microsoft was one of the exception, and of course, yeah, Tesla, that was a very small move. Everyone was betting on Tesla moving dramatically, but it didn't. So this earnings season has been pretty quiet, actually. But quiet is a good thing, right? We don't want the kind of noise we had back on Monday for DeepSeek. So far, so good. Let's look at the chart. Of course, once again, that is your SPY, QQQ, and always the futures and also the VIX. Now, what do we have over here? So on 2 hour SPY, obviously higher highs and higher lows. We're just holding pretty well, a little bit of consolidation, but consolidating above this major moving average. So looking pretty nice to me, almost closing the gap. I think the gap will be closed today after market open. If you move over to 4 hours, higher highs and higher lows, right? We found support on this moving average, and then we didn't even touch the support, and we just went up even higher than before, and this candle closed way better than the doji before it. And look at the volume, right? On 4 hours, after such a steep drop, we are finally coming back to this kind of MACD, and after open today, we can potentially see the cross on 4 hours to give you more evidence that the bulls are accumulating at this stage. And daily, of course, higher highs and higher lows. I don't think there's anything to report here. The volume is also on the increasing side. And yeah, weekly we are lower highs and lower lows. So the close today will matter. Uh, More ideally, I think we want to see the volume surpassing the previous week, and the close is going to matter, right? We don't want to see this kind of wick. We probably won't take out the previous high because that would mean the market is making all-time high today. I don't think that's the case, but as long as we can close somewhere, above 608.28, that's a pretty good sign for the bulls as well. Now looking at QQQ, pretty similar. We obviously found support on 20 weekly moving average. And on the daily, we are also higher highs and higher lows, right? Um, Closed above 20 days and 50 days moving average. You might say, okay, the selling is on the increasing side for the volume, but yeah, you shouldn't discount the fact that this is a huge wick, right? A lot of buying happened second half of the session. If you want more evidence, you can look over to 4 hours. Definitely not as good as SPY, but this is still, if you zoom out, this is higher highs and higher lows, right? Look at this. The lows have been just higher than it was before, and also the high, taking out this high is going to matter, right? Which is at 526.09. This is looking good. As long as SPY is looking good, QQQ can be too bad itself, right? This is series of higher highs and higher lows, right? Every dip is being bought. So really nothing concerning at this stage. Of course, we know futures are up. Apple is okay, Intel is okay, gap up, open, higher highs and higher lows. Everything just looking very fine from here. Um, Looking at the VIX, yeah, I mean, okay. Obviously we knew this huge wick, right? Lower highs and lower lows, and we obviously rejected here. That's a good sign, but we are still in this green area, which is not as nice. This is telling you, yeah, BX turned red, so it shouldn't be concerning. Actually pretty good because when you see VIX close on the low, we always, maybe not always, but likely we can have some rebound on the VIX. So this kind of close is actually nice. We sent it down, we rejected, we went down, but we kind of picked it back up because obviously the market was, indecisive. It didn't know how Apple, Intel were going to announce their earnings. So this is pretty normal. Yeah, nothing too much to read on the VIX over here. Now, remember we talked about Costco and McDonald's disparity yesterday. Uh, these profit taking and stuff. Let me just remove them. Yeah, hit my target. Happy about that. Very nice trade on Costco. Still higher highs and higher lows after such a gap up. And if you want to go over, so weekly is also good. I think Costco is definitely making all-time high. The question is when. Already very determining volume as compared to before. We talked about this before Monday. Even this is such a gift, right? After this close, you already kind of know that Costco is ready to make a move to the upside. Okay, the gap down on Monday, it was such a gift for the stock to test 20 weekly moving average once more. And this moving average has served as the most decent support ever since um like May 2023. So it's been like almost 2 years now, okay, that this has been a strong buy point, and surely it turned out to be very, very true. Found support on this moving average, and weekly also looking very nice. Yeah, Costco is on its way to make all-time high. So for investment purpose, I think this is still very sweet over here. Well, McDonald's is another story because they had pretty similar setup, but McDonald's didn't have the kind of a weekly kind of setup as good as Costco had. So it was huge run up like Costco had. Like the Dow was just ripping on that day. And a little bit of cooling off. So is Costco, but Costco was able to take out the previous high while McDonald's is not. And look at this. It's just rejecting, right? That's the first high, hitting the second high, went down a little bit yesterday at open. You can already kind of draw the trend line. Yesterday we rejected, and before the close we rejected once more, but we didn't take out the low. So keeping eye out for McDonald because on hourly we're still expanding, and what we know is usually this is a trending channel, and this is a short time frame kind of profit taking. As long as we are, still not making lower lows and above this maybe 200-hour moving average, we're looking okay. Some weakness, but just remember, as soon as we are breaking out this trend line, expect a pretty big move on McDonald's, right? And when that happens, we'll notify on the channel. Now, AMD, I know people hate it. Nobody likes this. You know, trying to time the bottom on AMD has been the hardest game to play, but I wanted to point this out because we obviously found support on this 50-month moving average. Okay, you can see the wick here. Let me just remove this darn thing. Okay, these alerts. Yeah, this is a very steep drop. Okay, that was 2022. Obviously, it was a different environment back then. The rates were high on the rise. That's why we took out this major moving average. But back in October 2023, sorry, yeah, AMD was down for several months before it posted very good earnings on in January. No, sorry, October. Yeah, that was a correction in the market, and then it went up from there. Right. This time we were actually going down to even lower points after such a surge on AMD shares. This looks like a support to me, and likely today being the last day of the training in January, and if we can close it this way with decreasing volume, I do see AMD making its way back to maybe $135 at least in February, right? And also, I'm looking at this as a long-term play, also because on 3-month chart, while it is not as good as ARM, like Applied Materials and all those names, but this is nice, right? Declining in volume, and we're obviously also almost touching this moving average, which can be serving as a pretty nice support. And what we need AMD to do now is to close the week green, right? I mean, obviously that was a huge gap to fill. We are, no matter what, we will be closing the week red. But what I'm saying is candle needs to be green because the volume is so huge. You don't want to you don't want to have it to close on the downside. That would be a very bad sign for AMD. Still kind of rejecting on 20 days moving average, and the volume is not even as good. But remember ARM, on the first day of the trading this year, it went up so dramatically, like 5 days straight. It just like gap up and run from there and gap up again, not even a little bit of pulling back. It just went up, 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 up. That's because the larger time frame always dictates, right? Nobody cares about these smaller time frames, especially at the end of the week or end of the month. People are looking at those things, and if you're trying to make sense of this weakness, you can't because on the larger time frame, it shows strength, it shows accumulation. So I don't really want to spend any time to look at AMD on a smaller time frame right now, just because larger time frame is going to come in hot. All right, so that is AMD. We will continue to monitor, and definitely will have another update at the beginning of February. So Nvidia, I always said I don't like the idea of pump and dump, and the one way to avoid it is to find weakening in selling pressure before you go long. Obviously, the first time in a very long time, we lost 200 days moving average on Nvidia, and we just went back up, right? And actually higher high as well. Most people were just getting at this point, but that was potentially a pump and dump. So you want to look for the signal that the selling pressure has concluded. So you wait for the sell the next session, obviously lower volume, defending 200 days moving average. That's when you enter before the close. Now, obviously the next day was still very ugly, and this is lower high and lower low, very bad volume too. So we want to move over to smaller time frame, right? This looks like a holding kind of pattern to me, right? Obviously higher low, and look at the volume. The red has been smaller, right? The selling, while this is still very strong selling, but the volume has just been going away, right? So I'm not seeing a lot of strength in this name right now. Not until we, maybe have a retest on 20-hour moving average and we found support going from there. That would be very nice. But so far, this does look like Nvidia is trying to hold. Okay, so that is your Nvidia, and of course, we've been very bullish on snowflakes. Hit my profit taking, but I'm still looking to maybe add more. Um, So on hourly, obviously, this is a downward channel. We want to see this hold. If we can see a little bit consolidation over here, then I do see Snowflake going up higher from there. Okay. And of course, weekly, huge higher high broke out, pretty much like 52-week high. Not yet all-time high, but it's coming. Higher volume as well. And if you want to go over to daily, yeah, this is showing you that the selling is kind of, getting exhausted. It would be great if we can test 20 days moving average. If not, I think this Fibonacci will be a pretty nice test as well if we can get down here and found support and closing like a very nice wick. That would be your signal to consider adding Snowflake. Alright guys, so that is it for today. And once again, this is not any financial advice. You're trading on your own risk. Please make sure you do whatever feels comfortable. I'm just providing you with what I'm seeing in the market and with educational purpose as well. And of course, if you're enjoying the channel so far, make sure you like the video, subscribe, because every day there's a ton of information we want to share with you. Now, with that being said, happy Friday, happy trading. I will check back with you after Friday close to have another monthly uh, update to provide for you and some of the names we talked about and some of the new opportunities we might be looking at. Thanks again. Bye for now.